All right, time for a look on what's new for movie watchers this weekend. We are joined live by film critic Richard Krause. I don't know what's in that mug, but it might be impacting your reviews this weekend, Richard.
Well, that is my secret, and I will not share it with anybody.
All right. Well, let's start with zeros and ones. If you're an Ethan Hawke fan, this is a good one.
Well, you get two for the price of one. He plays two characters in this. He plays J.J. Jericho, an American soldier who is in Italy looking for his twin brother, also played by Ethan Hawke, who is suspected of being a terrorist who just might be in on a plan to blow up the Vatican. And this is a sort of interesting movie stylistically. It was shot during the lockdown in Italy, and they were locked down hard. So you've got all these really interesting shots of the empty streets of Rome as JJ, the soldier, is looking for his brother down darkened alleyways and through darkened streets. And it does build a sense of tension and a sense of sort of dread over the whole thing. But I'm afraid that that's about all that there is in this movie. The storytelling gets very murky as the running time goes on. And in fact, at the very end of the movie, Ethan Hawke pops up, the real Ethan Hawke, not acting, and says, I've always wanted to work with the director Abel Ferrara. And when he sent me the script, I didn't really know what to make of it, but I really liked the film. I disagree. I don't really like the film. I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars, but to each his own.
Okay, let's move on to a psychological thriller. If you want to get away from the psychosis of a pandemic, you can catch Marionette.
Yeah, I like Marionette quite a bit. This is also like Zeros and Ones on VOD this weekend. And it's the story of an American psychologist who moves to Scotland to take over from another doctor who had been looking after younger patients. When she gets there, one in particular, Manny, a 10-year-old who refuses to speak to any of the other doctors. He will only vocalize his feelings with her. He starts drawing disturbing drawings of natural disasters, of violent acts. When these things start to come true, she begins to wonder, is he predicting these things or is he actually causing them to happen? When his predictions start to touch her life in a very real way, she has to take further action. So this is a psychological drama that builds in tension and drama over time. For me, it got a little muddy near the end. There's a lot of twists and turns and things that happened. But up until that point, it was a 3.5 star for me movie out of 5. It's on VOD this week, and I think it's worth a look, particularly if it's going to be bone-chillingly cold here. You want to stay home and watch something good on television, and this fits the bill.
Absolutely. And streaming on Crave, Ray Donovan, the movie. Is it all about baseball?
No, in fact, it's about baseball bats. Ray Donovan, as you know, the Hollywood fixer from the original series, played by Liev Schreiber, who was someone who would often solve his disagreements with other people with a baseball bat in a very violent way, is back to kind of wrap up all the loose ends left from the series after it was canceled rather abruptly after 7 seasons. In this, we get to the heart of the problems that Ray Donovan has with his father, played by Jon Voight, and the relationship that he shares with his brother. It takes them back to Boston, where it all began. And for me, it was a little grim, but if you've been watching the show and were a fan of the show as I was, you could see that coming because the show got grimmer as the seasons went on. But for fans of the series, people that know the show, I think that they'll enjoy this film. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If you've never watched Ray Donovan, though, catch up on the 7 seasons before you watch this movie, because I don't think it will make a great deal of sense to you if you haven't seen the TV show.
And finally, as you said, it's going to be a long, cold weekend. We can get all of these in. The Last Thing Mary Saw. What'd you think of this?
Yeah, this is on Shudder Canada, and they specialize in horror films. And this film definitely has elements of horror in it, but it's really about repression. It's about a young woman named Mary who in 1863 is living in upstate New York with her very religious parents, and she is having a love affair with the maid, Isabel. when that's discovered, they try something akin to conversion therapy to bring the two women around to the parents' way of thinking, and then things spiral out of control from there. This is a movie that is all about atmosphere. It's all about this atmosphere repression that the filmmaker creates over the running time of the film. It's not big on shocks and scares, so if you're a fan of Friday the 13th and movies like that, this might not be for you. But if you remember a movie from a couple of years ago called The Witch by director Robert Eggers, if you like that kind of folk horror, I think The Last Thing Mary Saw will work for you. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and it's on Shudder Canada right now.
All right. Great to see you, Richard. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend to you. Thanks for having me.